You by World of Warships. The Young Pioneers, 1922 to 1991, the Soviet Union. In 1922, the Soviets replaced the pre-revolutionary scout organizations that existed and had originated from the United States with its own version that followed the communist ideology, much how the Hitler Youth followed Nazi ideals. The Soviets realized how the scout movements could effectively unite and educate children. So, on May 19, 1922, the Vladimir Lenin All-Union Pioneer Organization, or in short, the Young Pioneers, was created. The Soviet organization would be for children aged 9 to 14. Their motto was summoned as, "Pioneer, to fight for the cause of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Be prepared," to which a young pioneer would respond, "Always ready," or "Always prepared," much like the Boy Scouts motto. Before becoming old enough to join the pioneers, Soviet children would be part of the Little Octobrists for ages 7 to 9. Then after the pioneers, they would graduate onto the Komsomol for ages 14 to 28, with many of those entering the Communist Party afterwards. While membership to these organizations were optional, in reality it was obligatory and it was impossible to pursue higher education if not a member. When they were ready to become a member of the Pioneers, a formal ceremony was held at what was called a Pioneer's Palace. These big buildings were where pioneers did their extracurricular activities, and they were often former residences of the Tsar or nobility. The ceremony would see the aspiring pioneer reciting the solemn promise, then receiving the distinctive red neckerchief, which was tied by an older pioneer. The ceremony was usually done on either of two key dates in the Soviet calendar: April 22nd, the birthday of Lenin, or May 19th, Pioneers' Day. The pioneers had many rules, which included to build up the Soviet Union under communism and be prepared to defend the motherland, to uphold the organization's honor, be a good comrade, lead the Little Octobrists, and prepare to become a Komsomol member. During Stalin's regime, he elevated the status of the young pioneers as a part of his cult of personality, portraying them as the models of a true socialist future generation. The youth represented a blank canvas to indoctrinate the type of socialism that he envisioned. Loyalty to Stalin was taught, and reporting on anyone suspected of treason was encouraged, even if it was the pioneers' parents. During World War II, young pioneers supported the home front. Those that were near the invading German forces fought on the front lines in partisan units, and many were awarded medals for their bravery in the defense of the motherland. Thousands of pioneers would die resisting the Nazis. 4 of the pioneers became heroes of the Soviet Union posthumously. The most distinctive element of the young pioneers' uniform was the red neckerchief, which showed that they were pioneer status. It featured 3 corners, which when untied symbolized the unity between the pioneers, the Komsomol, and adult communists. A white shirt with blue shorts or skirts, depending on the gender, were worn, and a blue side cap known as a pilotka was worn on the head. Sometimes a red pilotka was worn for special occasions. They also wore a member pin with an image of Lenin and an inscription reading, "Always ready." For the sea service, the uniform featured sailor caps and blue and white shirts. At hand was the Tovarishch Pioneer Handbook, provided for pioneers with detailed drawings and descriptions on the military, such as uniforms and the equipment of the armed forces. Through the long history of the Pioneer organization, there were different goals and objectives that were established by the Komsomol and the Communist Party. Many of the activities included games and competitions between pioneers within and among pioneer groups. The purpose of these activities were centered around teaching the ideology of communism and patriotism. Outdoor exercise, camping and adventure trips, arts and crafts, as well as music and sports were all popular activities. Pioneers spent their summer vacations in camps where they met pioneers from different cities and villages, or even republics. One of the most memorable parts of camp life was the bonfire at the end of the camp term, or on the Pioneers' Day, after new pioneers were accepted. Pioneers would attend class where they learned how to draw and play musical instruments, create plane models, publish journals and magazines, and perform plays. There were also competitions challenging pioneers to collect the most waste paper or scrap metal. Many Soviet holidays were celebrated with parades. They were comprised of veterans of World War II, factory workers, teachers, engineers, laborers, soldiers, Komsomols, and pioneers all marching through the streets with music. The purpose of the parades were to show how the Soviet government cared about its people. Each pioneer squad owned a flag, drums, and horns, which they used on official meetings, parades, and events. The militaristic nature of the young pioneers continued into the Cold War. For the 1960s, pioneers participated in military training and Zarnitsa, meaning heat lightning, a type of Soviet war game. This would prepare the pioneer for military service in defense of the motherland, teaching them bravery, collectivism, comradeship, and discipline. From 1967, 2 years of military instruction every week was compulsory. Often these were lectures from World War II veterans or reservists in the Red Army. In pioneer palaces, ex-servicemen would teach the pioneers in military skills, including map reading, reconnaissance, marksmanship, and first aid. During summer camp, teams of pioneers from the different palaces competed in the massive Zarnitsa war games, where they could use military equipment in big simulated battles emulating adult soldiers in the Red Army. For pioneers, the goals and rules of the game centered around attacking the enemy's camp and taking their flags. As they became older, they could move on to using real armored vehicles and smoke bombs. When it came to grade 5, shooting practice was a new skill to learn, as pioneers aged 12 to 13 were allowed to use air rifles, while the Komsomol age group used small caliber rifles. The pioneers would also learn to use gas masks and how to give first aid to those suffering from radiation exposure. For Lenin and the leaders that followed, the youth were important, as they would be the generation of loyal, genuine communists. And such organizations as the Young Pioneers proved to be an effective indoctrination tool to achieve this goal. The Young Pioneers would continue all the way till the end of the Soviet Union, disbanding in 1991. A big thank you to World of Warships for sponsoring this episode. World of Warships is free to play and referred to as the thinking man's action game because it's the perfect balance of action and strategy. You can command a massive naval fleet featuring some of history's most iconic war vessels. In this game, you can unlock new ships and dominate the oceans with 30 million players worldwide. Experience combat in weather effects that make engagements unique and change the tactics of battle. In World of Warships, each in-game ship is recreated using 3D scans of the real-life version. World of Warships is constantly updating the game, so there's something new to experience with a steady cadence of new missions, game updates, and events. There are over 200 ships available to play across 11 different nations. Use our exclusive code below and get a free USS Langley aircraft carrier, which allows for a completely different form of fast-paced World of Warships gameplay. Click the link below to play World of Warships and collect an exclusive bonus starter pack. New players can register with the code PlayLangley2019 to receive 300 doubloons, 1 million credits, the USS Langley aircraft carrier, 3 days of